Last week, we talked about Civic Square. Renderings were released, looked pretty impressive. This is the major development planned for the old Civic Auditorium site. Well, we wanted to get some more details. So today we have the developer of that project, Arun Agarwal, who is ahead of White Lotus Development. Good morning, Arun. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Jeff. How are you? Long time. Good to see. Good to hear from you, and you, Jorge.
Yeah, you too, Arun.
Yeah, we're very overdue for having you on the show and all that. So, well, first of all, those were some pretty cool pictures, renderings that came out for the Civic Square. Give us a little overview of that project.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for asking. I'm glad, and you get a little nervous putting yourself out there and starting to share vision, and especially in something as significant as the Civic site. And this project, overwhelmingly, we had positive responses so far. So I'm thrilled that everybody is feeling motivated and invigorated for that redevelopment of that site. I think the culmination was a bit of an aha moment when introducing streets back into that site came about, and when we start to draw it out, and we kind of realized a few things about living in Omaha, and one of us, myself in particular, we're spoiled parkers. We like to drive around the block 2-3 times before we find a spot that's like 2 stalls closer, and by
right.
cutting those streets, cutting the streets into it, it introduced street front parking. And the site and the renderings that everybody's seen, that's based upon, frankly, a plan that allows like very convenient parking for that size development so far. So that's one. And the other thing is businesses and tenants like line of sight. So we want our sign above the door. And so again, by introducing the streets, we've increased convenience, we've increased parking. And we've increased line of sight and visibility for those respective businesses that will end up there. Yeah, so 2 things that I think that came to light that's part of the influence of the renderings that everybody's seen so far.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart design. I commend you guys on that. And I think like you said, you've kind of increased that surface area of visibility and parking and access. I think it's a great addition. Arun, can you talk a little bit about, who is this development for? I mean, it sits in an interesting part of downtown. Who is it serving? What's the primary kind of customer, resident person that's going to enjoy this site?
Yeah, great question. First, I have to admit that when approaching the city about redeveloping the site, we looked at it as kind of a lesser site in the grand scheme of things, a significant investment by the city, philanthropic community, and corporate community into different parts, the riverfront being a prime example. The stunning redevelopment of the riverfront has invigorated, investment in downtown. And now followed by Mutual of Omaha and Kiewit Luminarium and now the streetcar. So when we looked at the Civic site, we kind of thought about it as an afterthought almost. It seems like it's 2-3 blocks in a different direction. And I'm guilty of that as well. And I was actually heading to Creighton University to go actually watch a basketball practice. And I'm like, let me venture down and take that exit that was the Civic Auditorium exit. And it was remarkable that when we think about investing in the urban core and that the heartbeat of any city is in our central business district, came to realize that actually the Civic Auditorium site is actually the best site in downtown in the sense that our investment and our utilization of downtown has to be from the entire city and the community, right? So our suburban residents come down. People went to the Lizzo concert last night, right? So they're venturing down from different parts of the city and neighboring cities, getting downtown and getting to it goes through that civic site. It is by far the best accessible and mobile-friendly site in our urban core, and it lends to bring different uses that have been absent in this redevelopment of downtown. Grocery obviously being one of them that seems to be very high on the list to kind of solidify the residential community. So to answer your question, I mean, Jorge, think about it. We have a phenomenal university that's adjacent. You have 3 Fortune 500 companies that have 2 of which have recent investment in that urban core directly adjacent or within blocks. So I guess I would say it's going to accomplish a few things. One, I think the expansion and the solidification of Creighton University and attracting more students. I think that getting more people to live downtown, which is certainly going to reinvigorate. Clearly, downtown is struggling on the office, and there's a lot of talk about office and whether office is dying or does this remote work or work from home, and that's certainly something that we have to consider. And so I think that it's actually for everyone. And when we think about what does this development need to accomplish, it's not just about the buildings. And when we think about it, it has to be a part of the package that we go and market outside of our community to bring in talent, desperate talent, into our city. So when we think about that, it's irrelevant what I think. It's probably irrelevant, no offense, Jeff, to what you think or Trenton thinks. We should be talking to the new grads that are the soon-to-be graduates from Creighton University, and what do they want in their central business district, because they're the ones who we're trying to attract and keep. So I think that's a better question for them than for any of us. And I think a lot of our questions have been to a population that we want to attract and maintain in our community.
Another couple minutes with Arun Agarwal, head of White Lotus, which is developing the Civic Square mixed-use development on the 4-city block Civic Auditorium site. Arun, you talked about a grocery store. The renderings also show a fitness club, other retail, restaurant, residential. Specifically, though, about that grocery store, that's been a tough pull for downtown. Let me just kind of ask you frankly, how confident are you that you can get one, and what kind of conversations have you had with potential grocery store tenants, if you don't mind?
Yeah, it's not an easy, and I want to be frank about that. It's not an easy list, but I am very confident that we will achieve the plan that we've kind of set forth. So I think, we're in feasibility. We've had ample conversations. I'm very focused, and we are very focused to bringing one that has brand recognition. We've got a lot of feedback on affordability, certainly. And I think one of the things I think the timing, Jeff, to answer that question, is the timing is ideal, right? We have friendly government. We have significant investment. I think the recognition, and it's a forgotten fact about this mobility and access. So when we geofence that area, we found out that the majority of people in this geofenced area that surrounds the civic site actually go across the river to shop for groceries.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was a remarkable exercise to find out. So I think, and I think that solidifies that there's a need. And I think when people recognize that the access and the regional pull for this particular site, it will attract the grocer. I am very confident about that.
Well, Arun, the renderings, like I said earlier, are beautiful. Heck of a project. We commend you and your colleagues for taking it on, and we wish you the best of success with it. And also, thank you for joining us this morning on Grow Omaha.
No, I think first, thanks for letting me on and talking about it. It's going to require all of us. So it's not a White Lotus project, frankly. I want to make sure that NAI and the broader community, it's what you want there. It's what you put in is what you get out. So I encourage everybody to think through it and share and participate. So I appreciate it, Jeff and Jorge, for including this.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.